Hello. Just playing around with some things, getting ready to share with you some fun stuff with wire and beads. Good morning. It is Monday. It is 11 a.m. here for me on the East Coast. Still drinking my coffee. If you're joining me, cheers. Thank you so much for being here. We are live on artbeads.com, and you can find us on artbeads.com or artbeads.com/live. You can just click on me and, my network connection is bad. How did that happen? I hope you guys can still hear me. Oh, brother. What are you, one of those days? Brother. Fingers crossed we get through this. Okay. Hi, Robin. Good morning. Good morning. So wonderful to be here. Whatever time of day it is for you, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And if you're catching this on the replay, I hope you're having a great day, whatever day it might be. It has been a breath of fresh air. I always talk about the weather. I don't know. Do you guys always talk about the weather? It's just what I do. But yesterday I actually sat outside and it was glorious for an early March day. This week we're going to have rain and clouds, so I guess that's just normal and we're leading into spring, so whatever. I'll take the good days when I can, and good days to me are every day, but especially when the sun is out. It is so great to be here with you, whatever day it is for you. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Okay, let's hope it hangs in there. It's telling me my connection is good now, but I got that big red warning sign. Louisville. All right. What a beautiful state, Kentucky. We have on this amazing platform the ability to shop live while I'm talking, while we're sharing, while we're connecting here. You can shop live. Just click on that little icon on the bottom and it'll pull up all of the materials that I have in my show today, so that as we're talking, you can just plop them right into your cart. Or if you're curious a little bit more about the information on the material, you can click on the item and read more about it, see it a little more close up. And then at the end, just close out your cart for anything, especially for those things that might be limited edition or limited in quantity. You don't want to miss out. And then if you receive your materials and you're like, wait, how did that go? And what was that exactly? Just come back and re-listen to this whole thing all over again. But of course you can fast forward, which is nice, because then you can skip through some of the parts that you do remember, or some of this chit chat that maybe is not, important anymore. Right now we're here together, sharing, communicating as a community, really just kind of getting started. Oh my gosh, weather has been gorgeous. Good for you, Kat. I'm so glad for you. Good morning. Palm Springs. That sounds like a nice place to be. I don't know that I've ever been to Palm Springs. Sounds beautiful. I know I've seen the golf tournaments from there, so I know it's pretty. We are going to be working with wire today. I love wire. I always say my favorite material is the one that's on my table at the moment, and that can sometimes be a lot. But today we're going to be, hello, Miss Sandra. And bonus, we are working with Miss Sandra's beautiful tool, a tool she invented, Miss Sandra. Oh, thank you so much. For those of you who know Sandra, you know very well about her conTastic tool, which comes with these amazing mandrels, plus more, which I'll show you in a bit. But she's also a dear friend. So thank you for joining me, Miss Sandra. It is also, what else do we have here? We have the comments. You guys already know about the comments. You're commenting. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for you to communicate with each other. Ask me questions. Tell me you can't see something because I'm way off camera and I completely lost focus. That happens. I'm human. Also, you have hearts, and really the hearts are just so great. It's just a little extra love that you can say, like, oh, that was really great. I really love that. Or, oh my gosh, I can't believe you threaded that needle so fast and you were able to do that. Good for you. And whatever it might be. But of course, comments are great in case there's something that either I didn't cover, went too fast, or if I've gone astray and you need me to come back. So thank you. And I do try to keep up with them. We also have some behind the scenes support who also help keep up with them and fill in the gaps, and answer questions and help restate some things that maybe I didn't say clearly, or if you join later and you missed something from the beginning, they'll help out. So, what else do we want to cover? Oh, you may be on social media. You may be on Facebook. You may be on YouTube. On Facebook, there will be a box with a word, and you can put that word into the comments, and that should bring you a link to help you be able to shop. Not quite as seamlessly as if you're here on artbeads.com directly, but it is a nice added feature that makes it a little bit easier if Facebook's your jam. And then for those of you on YouTube, we are so glad to have you from wherever you're coming from. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Oh, I love that, Robin. You're so kind. Okay, so I think that's basically the housekeeping for the moment. And let me just show you. These are not the actual beads we'll be working with today because I'm in a more of a blue-green mood, but this is a little bit of where we're going to go. We're going to cover all the components you need to make something like this. This really fun. These are Jesse James beads, if you couldn't figure that out, with all these sweet little tassels. I think they're kind of indicative of Sarah's style and the beads and components that you will find at Jesse James. So there's lots of Jesse James beads on artbeads.com. We'll be working with some blues and greens today. And then here's a little more simple version for those of you who maybe just like a little bit less of the fun party vibe. I go both ways, depends on which day it is and what else I'm wearing. But there's lots of options that you can make. We're also going to work with flat wire. So round wire, great tools, and some flat wire. So Beadalon, I love their wire. Artistic wire also is on the site, so you can work with artistic wire. But this flat wire is from Beadalon. So we have art beads 14 gauge, 16 gauge, and silver and gold, just to kind of give you some options and some great tools. So why don't I turn you guys down? I just hate to do that. I love to just be talking with you, but let's get to business. Let's get to work. It's Monday. Time to get to work. All right. I hear you. Here we go. Okay. Well, good morning. Good morning, Christine and Sharon. It's so great to have all of you here. Let me just start moving some of the cameras stuff around so I can take care of getting you turned around so you can see all the stuff. Geez, it's Monday. This always happens. Okay, here we go. All right. And just get you down. Oh, nice view of the tools. That is awesome. Get some more light on here. I think I can just pivot that. Does that work? Yep. Give a little bit of light over here. And we'll pull this light down. There we go. All right. I can never really tell when the lighting is good enough, but I think that looks pretty darn good. All right. So actually we're focusing on the tools the way the camera is angled right now. So why don't we just kind of go around? We've got the Italian flush cutters from Beadalon. We've got Artronics pliers in all varieties, round, flat, chain. We've got the multi-step plier, which we're going to use the larger size today. Chain nose. I do have some more economy version pliers here as well, just in case. And then the conTastic. So for those of you who may not know the conTastic tool, let me just kind of go over it a little bit more, not a little bit more from the beginning. Pretend this is me just opening it up. Because it comes in this amazingly smart handheld device. So you have this to start. The end comes off, and inside are all the tools you need. So I don't know about you, but when it comes time to store your tools, having a way to actually keep all the parts together in one place is so helpful, because Miss Sandra's so brilliant. She worked with Beadalon to develop this tool, and that also means it's a very well-made tool, high quality. This is durable. I've had this. I'm going to say this is my first one. I do have a couple, because you can never have more than one. I mean, never have more than enough. And then here, right in this part, there's like a set screw. It will come out. You can use the awl that comes with it to undo that. But what the purpose of it is to hold the mandrel right there. And now I have a tool that is sturdy, but what I want to say is it actually has a ability for me to grip it. It's not, and you know, I have really big hands, so for me to have a tool that has a base that I can actually hold on to, that doesn't make my hand have to work too hard, I can't tell you how much that means to me as somebody who, when you're making something in repetition, it helps with hand fatigue. You can also, I have and I couldn't find the bracelet. I'm so sorry I didn't find it. But I have mounted this in a vise, and then I've been able to just use the mandrels freehand, so I don't actually have to then hold it. So it's really versatile. It's like I said, it's well made. It comes, the set comes with 3 different size mandrels and the awl, so you're good to go right out of the box. Now, because Miss Sandra is so brilliant, we also have other options, other mandrels to go with the set. And we may not really necessarily get to them today, but I would be remiss if I did not share them with you. Let me get a couple here. So here, like this, you could make an hourglass shape. You'll wind the wire, it'll come down to a taper, and then it'll taper back out, flare back out. And to get your wire off, this end will unscrew, and then you just take your wire off and then put it back together. And then this is available in 3 different sizes. Let's see. Let me get these organized. Here's the larger one. So brilliant. And again, very, very well made. So this is going to last and give you endless possibilities of components that you could make. And initially this was made, and I don't want to misspeak because Miss Sandra's here, she can correct me, but for cones, you know, when you're finishing a wire design or some sort of like crochet wire or a beaded design, it's just nice to add a finishing touch. And making cones was something that Miss Sandra was looking to accomplish, and conTastic was born. And then these are the inverted mandrel, inverted cones, so that your cones can then be made in the reverse direction, and so you get a different effect. It's just wonderful, just wonderful. So lots of options that these additional sets will provide you. Oh, that's my ruler. And we'll just put that aside. I'm going to focus on this guy. It's all about custom cones for your handmade designs. Thank you. Please interject. Thank you so much. And that is nice, because I've also made metal clay cones on here, polymer cones. So you can use the cone just as a what's the word I want to say? Like as a form. It is a form. And that'll just make it so you can create endless cones, all to suit your designs. Okay, so we've covered the wire. We've got 14, 16 and flat gauge, or 14, 16 gauge and flat wire. We've seen a few designs. This is flat wire with some embossing on it. But it's just really cool. It's really cool. It's different. It's a different way to integrate some dimension into your design. I'm going to need these tools, so I'm going to move them off of this tray before I slide it out. How many times have I done that? Slide it out, and then I can't reach anything. I hope that's not too distracting for you out there. Let me move this a little bit closer. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we also have beads. Beads, beads, beads. And these are just a few of the sets that are available currently on artbeads.com. This one is called Mermaid Grotto. And of course, right on top, we've got some mermaid fins. But the collection is just so magnificent. You've got metal in here, large beads, small beads, pave style beads. Oh, like a cowrie shell. So just a lot of things in here that'll inspire you. And I know it's a little early for the beach in our neck of the woods, but it's coming. And if you're getting ready for show season or Mother's Day and you want to make some gifts, these are a great mix. They will give you lots of beads so that you can make more than one design. And then there's those fun frilly tassels. I love these little guys. So cute. And of course, this is more like a floss, but still so adorable. A great little extra accent. And then this is a nice, flat. Oh, what is this one called? This is the Swiss chard. I don't think I even like Swiss chard, but this color is beautiful. I don't know. Do you guys eat Swiss chard? I don't know if I eat Swiss chard. I probably have never even tried it, and I'm just saying I don't like it because I'm like that. Oh, look how sweet. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at that. And then to have a loop on one side and then on the other. That's so clever. And then you've got these look like a 10 millimeter rondelle with a beautiful finish. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. I get so lost. We're here to learn some stuff, but I can't help myself. These beads are so fun. And I just want to make like a million bracelets and use them all up. Okay, so let's look at the peacock, because I think the peacock to me was very misleading. Love the packaging. P.S. Love the packaging, Miss Sarah. So this one to me is like peacock. And then the purple in here is like, wait, I didn't expect purple. Uh-oh, wait, what am I doing wrong? There we go. Look at the purple. It's just such a nice surprise. And I suppose it shouldn't be, but that iridescent. Ooh, so lovely. And these filigree-like components. Looks like brass, like a brass stamping. So very lightweight. So appropriate for a peacock mix. You could make earrings with this, because there's a pair. There's a few other metal components. Oh my gosh, these are so fun. Sorry, that was probably very loud. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to close that right in your ear. And then this is another way that they package. This is called Safari Green. Also some really, really cool beads in here. Okay, we're getting lost, way lost into the beads, but who can help? How can you help yourself? So I do not believe these are check glass. They may have some check in them. I think Deb Floros is on. She would know better than me where these are from. Deb, if you're on, if you can comment, that would be helpful. But there's so many, and each of the mixes is a little bit different. You've got designer blends, trends mixes, and then this is called a Market Fresh mini mix. So they make their mixes in different sizes, and then within each of the sizes has a different assortment. But usually there's tassels, these fun little tassels, a few metal components, and then different shape beads. And I've not used any out of this. So that's a true mini mix. Yeah, they're so pretty, Bridget, aren't they? Okay. So let's get to making some of these components so that you can see some of my steps, get into some of my logic here, and then have the ability to just go and make whatever you want. All right, so I've got all the tools kind of stacked out to the side. They'll eventually come back into play here. We're going to work on creating just the simple S hook, which you can then link and make a necklace. Deb, some check in the mixes. Usually mix a different glass and other goodies. Thanks, Deb. We'll make a couple of charms out of the cone and the flat wire, using the cone and flat wire. And here's a perfect cone, although it's expanded. You can have it be compressed so the coils are closer together. So many options. I'm telling you. You could just sit and make jewelry all day and not have to repeat the same thing twice. Okay, so where do we want to start? I will go over the basics of the S, because I think it's It's one of those shapes that has been with me for a really long time. I originally learned some of these techniques from Connie Fox, for those of you who may know Connie or remember her work. She was, oh gosh, what is Ikebana? Ikebana? Is that the flower, Japanese flower arranging? So she's just an artist. She's just an artist and worked in so many different mediums. And she found wire, worked with Sherilyn Miller. And then from that, she just started having her work published in Lapidary Journal. And one of the first bracelets we did was this really fun bracelet that was made using just this link and other things to put the links together. But that was the premise of it. And really the key is the knowing your tools and the measurement. And what I tell you today may or may not be what works for you, but it's a great place to start. I have taught this so many times to the point where some of the things that don't work out, I have taught a whole nother class based on that, because inevitably some of the measurements don't work, or you measure and you use a different part of the tool, and therefore the measurement is thrown off and your shape just comes out different. And that's okay. But if you want to get into production, let's see, I think this was 3 7/8. So I will just make a quick little mark so I can see that up here more closely. And I'm going to use the flush side of my cutters here, so that what I'm leaving for this part that I'm going to keep, I'll already have one side be flush. Now, because I did that earlier, this end needs to be trimmed because it is not flush. So you want to cut that off. One thing to keep in mind, this is 14 gauge wire. So one thing to keep in mind is using the right tools. I would say I probably shouldn't be using 14. I would say you might need this is cutting it fine. What am I trying to say? This is cutting it fine, but I would not go heavier than 14 gauge with these cutters. And if you have a heavier duty wire, rated wire cutter, you could almost plan to use that for some of this initial cutting. And why is that? You can damage your tools, and we all value our tools. And that is why I mentioned earlier just having a pair of economy pliers nearby. And I also wanted to point out so I have my Tronics, and they have different ratings on them. And you want to just really pay attention to what your tools are geared for. They are just like the adhesives we talked about last week. The manufacturers test their tools, and they definitely give you the best information possible for the longest life of whatever it is you're using. So I would recommend that you follow that. This is a copper-based wire, so it's a little softer, but you can use your economy pliers if you have any concern over working with something so heavy and you don't want to damage your good pliers. So I'm just somewhat near the tip. This is again, it depends on the pliers where you grip it and where you make this first loop. This little loop here does not need to be big. It just needs to happen. You need to have one. But it does not need to be big. You're going to link it with a jump ring. So at some point, or you're going to add charms to it. Like you want to make the decision on what size this loop needs to be based on what you're ultimately going to do with the link. For most of what we're doing, we're not using this shape, this part. It's really almost decorative. Here, what I've done, which you have the option to do, I find it a little clunky, but it worked for this style. I linked the loop to the S, and what that'll do is it'll just create a closed unit so that if you put beads on here, like this one, they won't fall off. So currently, this guy can slide around, and it could ultimately make its way around and fall off, depending. So those are just some construction ideas, like reasons behind some of what I do that you just want to keep in mind as you go off and make your own and make some changes and do your own thing. Okay, so this guy, this is our 3 7/8 length piece of 14 gauge wire. I have 2 small loops on either end, one facing, or each facing a different direction, and somewhat parallel. We'll fix anything out, fix anything we need to when we're done. Okay, this guy, I'm going to seat the loop so that it's coming up toward me. It's positioned right at the tip, right as far down into the jaw as it can go. And the beauty of this tool, even though this is heavy gauge wire, it just takes all of the pressure off of my hands. It does all the work for you. And so you have kind of like a shepherd's hook. And then we'll just do the other half. And the goal is for this shape, I think the most pleasing shape is to have the loops somewhat nearby to create that really elegant flow. And what I wanted to share with you is how each of these is a little different. I had them in order, and of course I mixed them up. This one is a 3.5 inch wire, and then each one of these gets incrementally actually, I think this one, because it got really wonky. This is 3.5, using the same technique we just did. So you can see it creates altogether different look. And then ultimately just kind of incrementally increasing by 1/4 inch. So you could see same tools, same wire, same process. I don't think that was part of it. And they're all just a little bit different. And I did it all in the same sitting. So I don't know if you knit, sometimes your gauge for your knitting can be different depending on the time of day that you're knitting, or if you pick it up a year later, it may be completely different. So all of those were made this morning so I could share with you kind of how they are different, just with that slight measurement change. 1/4 inch, maybe even 1/8 inch in some of them. Okay, so that's your S. That's it. That's all you need to know about making an S. That's it. You can hammer it. You can do some hammering if you want. It changes the look. This half is hammered. This half is not. So you can see kind of the difference. I think it's beautiful when you hammer it, but it definitely changes the look. If you want like a really high polish finish, then don't hammer it. Don't do it. Okay, so this guy, this is 16 gauge wire. And I'm telling you, every time I do it, it comes out a little differently. And I believe it's just about, this is about 6 inches, which is more than you need. I'll check the end, make sure the end is cut flush. Clean it up a little bit. This is 16 gauge. You'll notice an immediate difference in how easy it moves. So I'm just going to do that first little loop. Same as we did before. And I'm going to use the big guy to create that beautiful hook. And here you can see it could be a little bit more narrow, so you could use the smaller one, but I use the big one. And now all we have to do is make the spiral. And I say that kind of flippantly because it's not that easy. And the first time you do it, what I would recommend is measure how much wire you have here. So we're going to say it's about 4.5 inches to here. And see, I'm going to trim that down. I'm going to make it 3.5 just because I don't want it to be terrible. I'm going to cut that down 3.5. And then from here, you're just going to spiral. So we'll do somewhat of a larger center spiral loop, I mean. And you don't go all the way this time. And now what we'll do is we'll just start to gently form the shape. There's no easy way to do it. But if you get your flat nose pliers in here and you work further down, I'm actually going to flip this over. You can let the pliers help you out. So they're holding the hard part while you just kind of manipulate the wire around to form that really pretty, what you hope will be a very pretty spiral. And now the nice part is since this is 16 gauge, it's very flexible. And what you can do you can tighten this up a little bit if you want more spiral in the center. It's very forgiving. Wire is very forgiving. And then you can kind of manipulate that point. I know I really love, I think Connie actually called it like a swan clasp. It's got that really graceful curve to it. And I'm just positioning the pliers on either side to create that little bit of a point. There you go. Again, you can hammer it. You don't have to hammer it. Oh, thank you, Paulette. Thanks, Karen, Carol. Thank you all. So again, play with it. And I think 3.5 inches was more than enough wire to work with. So let's see if it was 3.5, 4.5. I started with 6. So this piece took about 1.5 inches. So if you start, I think it is 5 inches. I think 5 inches is what I would recommend. But see, like I can't help but play with it a little bit more because I want to make it be prettier. And part of this little angle here is to help give you a place for the rings to rest. And here's one that's hammered. So you can see it's the look of it is very different. And then this point just gives the jump rings, or however you're connecting your components together, it just gives it a place to be seated. So it's not, not spiraling around all the time. It really naturally will just, by gravity, have a place to sit. So that's mostly the goal of it, but it is also very pretty. Okay, so there's the S, there's the swan. Let's get to the cones. Yay! All right, so I'm not using the conTastic today to do anything too terribly complex. You guys get this tool and play with it. But this is just a simple little charm that I absolutely love, and it looks so great in a finished design. Let's see, do I have one in here? No, but watch, like if I add this guy, let's see, how can I add one? I know I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take off this little guy here and add one. And you could just see, like, it is so fun. It just adds to the life and the party. I think in my copy for this project, I was saying, like, it's like a party in a box. You know, you just add to it. And could you imagine wearing this to a party? It just stands out, and it's unique, not just because you made it, but because you've handmade parts of this. And many parts of it. Oops. Come on. Here we go. So many of these parts of this bracelet are handmade. Who else is going to show up at the party with that? Nobody, unless you made it for them and hopefully you charge them a good price. But like, look how fun. And then if you just dotted this with a few more of them, like, oh my gosh. Anyway, okay, let's get to it. Let's make one. I think I made that with a smaller mandrel. Here we go. So again, we'll just loosen that set screw, put in the mandrel. Make sure the hole's there. Okay. Let me first give you that demonstration because that's really so clever. Do you see this hole in the mandrel? That's geared toward helping you hold your wire. So I'm just going to wrap, and this is heavy gauge wire, but it is doing all of the work for me on my left hand. All I have to do is be very careful maneuvering my right hand. And for many, many, many people that I have taught, I know hand strength is not something that is really something women possess. So the fact that we have tools that can help amplify our hand strength and help us be able to accomplish the tasks that we want to accomplish. Yay. Thank you so much for those of you who have gone before us, Miss Sandra, and thought of ways to make it so we can do the things. I'm going to move some of this out of the way. I feel like the camera's trying to focus up there. All right. And so now this part is waist. So you'll just trim away. And then the cone comes off. That's a very interesting cone. I think I would do a better job if I was really trying to use this for something, but it's a cone. And if you top this off of your beadwork, on top of your beadwork, if you're doing kumihimo, wire crochet, any of your beadwork, okay, this is 14 gauge wire. So the fact that I was able to do that with that wire, hopefully, if you're familiar with 14 gauge wire, you can really appreciate what I was able to accomplish thanks to that tool. And then I would go in here and just kind of tighten things up and make these closer together. And honestly, if I were making it, I would do that from the get-go. But I'm trying to move things along, so hopefully you forgive me for that. Okay, flat wire. So the flat wire will not fit in that clever hole. So you just have to hold it. And this is an extremely long piece of flat wire. I will likely hurt myself if let's see, let's go for a shorter piece. So flat wire, this, I think this is 3 millimeter. It comes in wider as well. This is, I think, 3 millimeter. Let's see, I've got a ruler. Oh, she's so clever. Yes, 3 millimeter. Some days I actually use my brain. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to try to get that guy to sit still and then spiral away. There we go. And trying to keep everybody close together. And the gauge of this, I think, if I remember correctly, you can look at the product description. I think it's measured as 21 gauge. It's not traditional round wire, so using a round wire gauge, I don't think for me is going to make sense. It'll be more based on the thickness of it, and I don't have my calipers handy. Okay. All right. And because I wasn't anchored in the hole at the bottom, I was able to just slide it off. And then I have this sweet, sweet, sweet cone. And the way I did that charm is I just simply, in fact, I think we can get away with this guy. Make a nice loop at the top. Might be a little too big. I would maybe use one of the other memory wire pliers that I think I have in every show. So I have a nice loop at the top. I've got a nice curve in the flat wire that gives even more dimension. And then here, all we have to do is, what I will do is trim a little bit on an angle. I don't want it to be sharp, but I want to be able to tuck it in. And that end will be a little bit sharp, so I would come back in and file that down. But it just finishes it off so beautifully. It gives it a nice taper. But I would definitely, you can cut it, but I would really recommend that you just file it. And look, that's so sweet. Now, I'm telling you, this is just one, these are just two simple ways of using this tool. There are so many ways that you can just change up a few of the different mandrels, the wire, the color wire, the materials. It is a dream. It is a dream tool to have. Okay, so, and then these guys, these are just jump rings made using flat wire. So let me grab that other length of flat wire that I had. And you know what? I'm going to probably pull out the bail making pliers, which are not listed in my show. I apologize. I didn't think about that. I thought these would do it, but I think that might be too big. That one, yeah, it'll be a little, this will be probably a better size jump ring. Let's see. And you have to overlap, just like if you were using round wire. Trim that away. I want to go straight. And then cut away this way. Trim. Cut away that way. Trim just like we make jump rings. Cut away this way. There we go. Okay, and now we have jump rings. So flat wire jump rings. Oh, thank you. 21 gauge thick for the flat wire. Oh, thank you. Oh, so the pliers I use for the cone, I use the conTastic. Is that what you mean, Karen? Oh, thank you, Lori. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Make sure I'm missing anybody. Yes, there you go, Sandra. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So Sandra said set of mandrels that form the wire cone. And then in here, it has a nice chamber that actually you put all of the mandrels inside. It comes, the main set comes with 3. The initial, what's the right word? The first version of the cones came with the base, an awl, and a set screw here that holds the mandrels in place on top, which then gives you this amazing handle to work with. And all 3 of these store nicely inside, along with the awl. Cover that up. Oops, cover that up. And then this just sits perfectly on my bench. So always, always, always handy. And everything I need is right inside. Love it. There are other mandrels that don't fit inside, but you can find a way to store them so that they're also handy. I have them here in a box. So you have the, let me get the bigger ones. Well, you have the inverted cones. You have I want to say this, what do we call this, Sandra? I'm sorry. I want to say that it's two cones that go together. So you place your wire in here, wrap, it'll taper down and then taper back out. And so you'll have an hourglass. That's the word I'm looking for, hourglass. So you'd have an hourglass shape. Oh my gosh, there's so many things. Okay, so hopefully that helped, Karen, but please let me know if you have any other questions. Back to the jump rings. So you do not have to use these as jump rings, but how nice. It complements your design if you're able to integrate the materials you're using in other ways all throughout. And I think this bracelet, yes, this is the bracelet. Hello, everybody. Everybody wants to be in the shot. This bracelet, I connected the S's with those flat jump rings. And the wire, even though it's 21 gauge, like if you use 21 gauge round wire, it would not be strong enough to hold these S hooks together and, you know, wear it and use this bracelet in a way that, you know, maybe I wear things because I don't remember I'm wearing jewelry and I just do whatever I'm doing. So this even though this is 21 gauge, it's very strong and likely because of the flat dimension of it and being 3 millimeters wide and 21 gauge thick. So, and then here's just some regular jump rings, which you can make using the same flat wire. So all of your color metal matches, or you can just purchase pre-made ones. And then I got interrupted. The S hooks. Oh, we made the S hooks. We made the S hooks. If you missed it, please just come back and rewatch it. It's a great component to be able to make because you can use it as a clasp. You can link them together, bracelets, necklaces, earrings. I know that bracelet is so fun, isn't it? And then you just use head pins to add the beads. And you can just make this bracelet. I mean, you could, what are they called? The cha-cha bracelet. Remember those cha-cha bracelets that had the loops on the expansion band? You could make this into a cha-cha bracelet by doubling up all of your S hooks to have multiples. So here I added tassels into this loop in the S hook, and then you could just go crazy and fill up these S hooks with all of the beads. Oh, so this, these S hooks here are connected. I use the flat jump rings to connect the S's together. Before I thought of doing that, you can just use jump rings. And then now it may make more sense. I may have introduced it a little too soon, but I connected jump rings from the loop to the opposite S curve, and that's to keep these guys in place. So if you feel you need to secure your dangles, you can add an S jump ring from loop to the S. It's not necessary. One of the reasons I added that, gosh, years ago, I was visiting my cousin. She had just had a baby, and within seconds, her daughter, the baby, who wasn't even a year old, had one of these in her hand, and it was like, oh my gosh, like that's not good. So I try to create a closed element here so that things can't come off that easily, because that's not safe. And you also don't want to lose any of these. These are fun. You don't want to lose them. Okay, so we weren't actually talking about pink, but we do have all of these other bead mixes. So here's the peacock again. Oh boy. Here's the peacock again. Oh boy, look at that. I love that. With the gold edging. Is that a cathedral bead? It's not faceted like a cathedral, but it's like that, where you can see through it. And then the gold edging. Rondelles. Oh, that's not a rondelle. That's a flat. Faceted flat. And then the purple and the lime green are really what really pop on these mixes. And then they come with bead caps, some accent beads. That's the peacock mix. Here is the mermaid grotto. We've got these large mermaid tails and then all of these fun shells, starfish, table cut beads. Thanks, Gail. Oh, thanks, Robin. So you use the the clasp that we made. You connect that to an S, and then just add an extra jump ring, or the flat links we made. Thank you, Robin. Thank you for translating. So you can use the flat jump rings we made as a companion to your clasp, or just use jump rings. Or really, you can just use an S. You don't even need jump rings. You can do like that. The thing to keep in mind, and why I connected all the S's together with a jump ring, is if you connect an S to an S, they flip-flop and they won't lay flat. So all of these things, like, you guys can totally take these ideas and try different things. What I'm showing you are things that I've just kind of troubleshot over all of the years that I've been making jewelry. But it doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. I highly encourage you to expand your palette, your techniques. Take my ideas and just run with them. Run and play and have so much fun. The other thing that I thought would be fun to show you guys, if you were to link up, I know Sandra has done like a whole ice cream cone series, but like, look how fun these beads sit right in, depending on the size of your cone, the beads can sit inside of your cone, and you can fill it up, string it up on a head pin, get the right size in there, fill it up with some color. Somewhere I saw, oh, here, I'm going to spill these out. Like, you can drop in a bead into the center, give it some color, top it off with another bead. The rondelles, I think, really are perfectly shaped for that. And then look how fun. Let me try to hold it here. Oh, let me grab pliers. That'll do it. So thank you, Miss Sandra, for your invention, your brilliance, and Beadalon for working with you to bring it to life and keep it in the market. And if you had a head pin, this would all just line up. And obviously that bead may not be what you want, but you get the idea. You could fill it with seed beads. So many options. Oh, and here's like you could invert this teardrop. So this is a teardrop. Invert that. I mean, come on. So many things you can do. For this guy, this is another teardrop. So you've got a narrower base at the top, but then if you put it in first, it's so fun. So then you have filled this open space, the negative space inside of the cone, and you've added color. So fun. I'm off camera. Thank you, Gail. Hopefully I'm back. Oh my gosh. Okay, so those are the basic elements of making something like this.